Welcome back to Patch Math, where today we are going to continue learning about exponent rules. Specifically, we are moving on to power of a power rule, and then also in this video, we'll be covering power of a product rule, simply because you usually see both rules at the same time. Here is our list of exponent rules entirely. And at some point, I will be making videos, hopefully for each of these. But for the time being, I'm going to take that off of our screen. I'm going to move power of a product rule on down for a moment, and let's focus in on power of a power rule. All right, looking here at our first example, you'll notice we have a base c raised to an exponent of 4 that is then raised to another exponent of 3. We can apply power of a power rule directly. That is 4 times 3, which is also known as c to the 12th power, and we're done. Just in case there was any confusion, one more example. We have a base s raised to the 10th power raised to the 2nd power. So we can just multiply that 10 and that 2 and that exponent, giving us s raised to the 20th power. All right, now moving on to power of a product rule. It states if we have a product in parentheses, super important, it must be in parentheses, that is raised to an exponent on the outside of that parentheses, we can bring that exponent into each of those multiplied parts, also known as factors. Now, it is important to note we bring it in as an exponent on each of the multiplied parts. I had a typo there on bringing, and I've corrected. All right, here is a good example of how you may see power of a product rule and also power of a power rule at the same time. So if you'll notice, we can go ahead and bring the exponent on the outside in as a power to each of our multiplied parts. So if we go ahead and write that out, that is going to be 2 raised to the 2nd power. And this is x squared raised to the 2nd power. And this is y cubed raised to the 2nd power. And then we just apply. So the first we applied power of a product rule to bring that 2 in on each of those multiplied parts as an exponent. And now to simplify completely, we must apply power of a power rule. So 2 squared, that's 2 times 2. That's also known as 4. And x squared times 2, well, that's x to the 2 times 2. That is x to the 4th. And y cubed squared is y to the 3 times 2, and that is y to the 6th. And here is your final answer on number 6. Real quickly, another example of how you may see power of a product rule and power of a power rule applied at the same time. You'll see here we have 3 on the outside. We bring that in as a power on the 5. We bring it in as a power on the x squared, and we bring it in as a power on the y to the 4th. So this will look like 5 raised to the 3rd power, x squared raised to the 3rd power, and y to the 4th raised to the 3rd power. Well, 5 cubed, that's 5 times 5 times 5, and that is 125. Applying power of a power rule, we have a power raised to a power on that base x there. We can choose, or we can multiply those powers. 2 times 3 is 6. Here we also multiply those powers, and 4 times 3 is 12. And for number 7, there is your complete and final answer. 125 times x to the 6th power times y to the 12th power. And we cannot simplify it down any more than that. And there you have it. Your math knowledge has just been patched over power of a power rule and power of a product rule. Thank you so much for your time.